Okay, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank the conference organizers and also especially to Dr. Salvia, who have extended this kind invitation for me to share this experience with all of you here in the Digital Congress Nano-Biotechnology and Bioengineering Conference. I'm very honored to be here today to share the journey that I had with SE3D, a company that I built 5 years ago, or maybe actually 8 years ago, in democratizing desktop printing for the education space. So today I'm here to share with you some of the lessons learned, and I hope that this will be a meaningful experience for you as much as it has been for me. Okay, so what is bioprinting? I don't think this is something that many of you really need an introduction for. I'm sure most of you already know what bioprinting is. But in a nutshell, just to kind of summarize what we all know already in terms of what bioprinting technology is all about, it's pretty much like a 3D printer. It's a printer that moves in an XYZ direction. It contains cartridges filled with bioinks that enables us to basically create three-dimensional biological structure and matter that will enable us to do numerous things in terms of bio applications of medicine and many therapeutic potential. So a lot of potential in terms of the applications of bioprinting, and that could include drug screening and high throughput technology applications such as developing skin models that could be used for high throughput screening, or even creating prosthetics like the ear model or a trachea or bioartificial trachea that could be used for replacement for tissue models. And of course, many companies have already been pursuing the clean meat industry to build artificial or alternatives for clean meat versus the traditional meat industry that we're all so dependent and reliant upon. The holy grail is really that one day we are going to be able to build vasculature, and many companies today have progressed significantly in that area of vascularization using bioprinting technologies. Very excited about this technology in terms of potentially in the future, we can build real organs that could be used for transplantation applications. So absolutely very exciting technology. Okay, so some of you may ask me, how did all this begin? Like, how did it come about for me to start this company? So I was in academia about many years ago, I guess. When it all started, I was an academic. I was doing a lot of research in cardiac tissue engineering. Personally, I was very interested in recreating the bone marrow microenvironment and understanding how hematopoietic cells interact with the hematopoietic stem cell environment. And we were creating in vitro models to understand how that really could be recapitulated in an in vitro situation. So that was what my PhD was about, and also as a faculty in Singapore at the Nanyang Technological University. But I was also fascinated by 3D printing because it was very much a very hot technology, and we were trying to integrate that in the school curriculum. So I started looking at bioprinting as well. And we had a student who really started tinkering around the idea of using an inkjet bioprinter to print biomaterials. That's how we all started. A couple years later, I decided that I was going to move back to the Bay Area. And one of my colleagues told me that, hey, Maya, you could actually start your company. You could actually get some grant funding to, build your own company in the United States and using the National Science Foundation. So I looked into that. And at the time, I had a colleague at Santa Clara University who I was working very closely with. And we started, kind of incubating this idea. And Prashant was also enthusiastic about it. And he said, why not? Let's go for it. So we decided to submit a grant. I basically put, most of the content together and decided that, hey, let's go for it. Let's do it. That we have really nothing to lose at the point. So we submitted a grant, and the idea was to create a desktop bioprinter, very much like a MakerBot concept. But both Prashant and I were very passionate about this concept of bringing bioprinting into education space, because at the time, bioprinters are very expensive. They could be anywhere from $80,000 to $200,000. So only the elite institutions could have access to these sophisticated bioprinter. And we thought, why can't we democratize this technology? Why can't we just bring it to the masses, just like what MakerBot was doing, and enable students, teachers at universities and colleges to use the technology so that they could actually take advantage of it? And that's basically the idea. We proposed it to the National Science Foundation, and 6 months later, lo and behold, we got funding. And that's how it all began. I felt very fortunate. This was basically after we got the funding, we bought a DIY desktop 3D printer, and we basically hacked the hell out of it. And this was our first hack, so to speak, right? It was the first pre-prototype. We wanted to understand what were the components, what were their software, what were the hardware, and how do we then use this platform to create a 3D bioprinter that was affordable, that was less than $1,000. That was our goal. We wanted to create something that was really cheap, and we can make it available for everyone and anyone who wanted to learn about bioprinting. 2015, that was the idea. And that's me and our first hire, Kevin, there in the background, who basically became our very first mechanical engineer, who joined SC3D and started this journey with us. 6 months later, we built our first prototype. We were so excited about it. That's Kevin right there in the Hawaiian shirt. And my founder and co-partner in crime, Dr. Prashant Sori, in the whiteboard there in the background. And there we were, kind of brainstorming the idea of, how do we build a company around this? What do we need to do to really get that value proposition and the business model to build SC3D around this? In the far right corner of the first image on the left here, you have Dr. Chris Kitts, who is a professor in Santa Clara University. He was the one who built this adventure lab to make resources and space available to Santa Clara University students and professors who have great ideas to make things happen. And we were the first to be there and take advantage of this space and opportunity. So really happy to have this opportunity to take advantage of that. And then alongside that, we also had this idea of a Biokit, right? We looked at many different biotechnology companies out there who are offering various toolkits available for high schools and universities. And there was this idea of like a chemistry kit, or even like a gel kit or a slime kit that was out there to really just ignite the interest and the potential of what biotechnology means, right? So we really thought that was a really strong concept, and we really thought that this was important. This was a critical component to enable the use of bioprinting into the education space, right? That we need to create these biokits. And that was how the Biokit concept started. We needed to have these tools readily available, so that teachers, students who are interested to learn more about bioprinting can readily utilize these kits, so that they can actually be able to integrate that into part of the curriculum. So that was how the whole Biokit concept started in SC3D. And then we realized that, hey, we need to really learn how the users are going to use and integrate these applications, right? So the use cases was very, very critical, right? We need to understand how they interact with the technology, what were the bottlenecks, what were the hurdles, what they learned and what they couldn't learn. So we started this series of bioprinting workshops, and this was one of the first bioprinting workshops that we started in Santa Clara. And we were very fortunate to have the support of Dr. Katie Crossmeyer, who was able to provide us with the resources and the network that allow us and enable us to connect with the right people, teachers specifically in biotech education, and who are very passionate about biotech education in this space, who was really excited about the technology. And I was extremely amazed by the amount of enthusiasm and passion that these teachers had. So this was one of the first bioprinting workshops we had. We had many, many more that were subsequently after that. But every single workshop was a learning process and learning journey for us. So that was absolutely critical. As part of being a startup, we also attended many conferences and workshops, and this was one of them that I wanted to highlight with you. I think that, you know, if you're passionate and devoted about what you need to do in this space, then you need to leverage whatever resources you can to be part of it and just embrace what you have, right? So both Prashant and I, and, you know, especially for myself, I participated in so many startup workshops that I could get a hold of for free. Maybe too many, but I think it was still a learning journey for me. And I think it was a meaningful and useful resource for me. So I do encourage all of you to leverage whatever resources you have, right? Especially if you know, you can gain something and gain knowledge from it. So definitely take the effort to participate in these resources. Okay, and then 6 months later, you know, after many iterations and projects and hard work, this is really the first product that we introduced, the Rebel bioprinter. And we were very excited about it. We you know, had the use case studies, we had the interaction, we understood what the customer wanted, and we thought, you know what, we got this, right? So we were really excited about it. And this was really the product or the outcome of that 6-month SBIR phase 1 grant that we got from the National Science Foundation in from the United States that enabled us to build this bioprinter prototype. We're really excited about this technology. With that funding, we were also able to continue building and working very hard and making more bioprinters that we could ship out to the customers. And this was when we decided that we need to launch a pilot program. We need to have those early adopters, people who believed in the technology and who were enthusiastic and passionate and wanted to learn about bioprinting and how they could integrate that into their curriculum. And we launched this pilot program. We engaged with 10 to 20 schools who were passionate about this program and technology. And we were also fortunate enough to have successfully won the phase 2 SBIR grant that allowed us to build these prototypes, right? So that was pretty much the bulk of 2016 and the beginning of it. We just start building, we worked really hard, and we start shipping these products. And we also attended a numerous number of conferences, right? That's really part of marketing, right? And you know, this was just some pictures of the conferences that we've attended. We spoke to students, we spoke to teachers, we spoke to administrators to really understand what they were looking for, and just kind of sharing or pitching this idea of a bioprinter. Many of them have never heard of what a bioprinter is at the time. And, you know, it took some time to give them an understanding and kind of grasp that idea of what a bioprinter can do in their classroom and how they can integrate and really incorporate that in part of the classroom. And that was really part of how we want to try to understand what were the gaps, what were the hurdles, what were the bottlenecks, right? So these conferences was really critical in helping us understand what were the concerns, what were the potential bottlenecks, and so forth, right? So these were one of the early ones that we attended. There were so many more that we attended after that. But anyway, conferences were definitely part of the journey that we had to go through. And, you know, throughout these years, especially after we got the phase 2 program, we really wanted, Prashant and I, we spent a lot of time just honing into the value proposition, right? We spent a lot of time pitching. We spent a lot of time trying to find outside investors and trying to find the funds that we need to build this company, right? So we really need to hone in on the value proposition. And I think one of the things that I think was really, that really resonated with both of us was the skill gap and the level of interest in STEM related areas. And we thought that, especially for biotechnology, we thought that bioprinting is a technology that could excite students and could really help to bridge those gaps, right? Similar to the idea of MakerBot. So we developed this technology so that we could democratize bioprinting, simplify the technology, and make it available to all of the students and teachers and students alike, right? And with a desktop bioprinter that is affordable and curriculum and platform that was available to the students, we could really attract them and engage the high level of interest so that they could be curious about biotechnology and bioprinting and attract students into the STEM fields. So that was really our value proposition, the bioprinter paired with curriculum, strong curriculum to tie with what the students are really doing, and also all of these biokits that allow students to engage in really exciting experiments and protocols that they could do as part of what as part of the classroom activity. So that is what we came up with at the end of the day. That was the product, offering a classroom 3D bioprinter that is highly affordable, right? Under $5,000. And even with the Rebel Mini, it was under $2,500, which is incredible, in my opinion. And an integrated curriculum, and also an easy to use, multiple easy to use lab kits or reagent kits or bio kits, whatever you want to call it. But we had a series of different kits that that pair with the curriculum, that allow students and teachers to tie that into part of their curriculum and just, you know, apply it right into their learning or education program. So that was the product. And then, of course, we also spent a lot of time thinking about our marketing strategy. How do we promote ourselves? How do we connect to the teachers? How do we connect to the students? How do we connect to the target audience? And again, you know, as any startup would ask the same question, the marketing strategy is who, where, and how. So we started defining who are our target audience. And both Prashant and I are convinced that we really wanted to make this technology available for high school students and college students and teachers, right? It's not a very sophisticated research tool or application tool. We really wanted to just create sort of a MakerBot for classroom applications, right? So affordability, cost and economics of scale was really critical for us. And so our target audience was high school teachers and colleges, that we could democratize this technology so that they could use it for their educational application or purposes. And then how do we connect to these teachers, right? So we have met many different teachers in conferences. We have met, and obviously having a website and online presence was important. And also connecting to that local educational community, right? So our first initial, I guess, startup or initial traction was also enabled through the biotech education community that we had in the Bay Area. So I think that was really critical. And again, you know, that's something that you need to grow continuously in the space, that we believe that is important. Last but not least, how we were able to launch and promote this idea and what we were able to offer. So we had teachers workshop, we had many teachers workshop, including online webinars and whatnot, email marketing campaigns, a lot of social media and so forth. We even had this idea that, hey, you know, maybe one day we could create like a rebel van that would go around different schools to create this one day or half day workshops that students can just pop in and just learn about bioprinting. That would be amazing. So that was an idea that we had. So haven't actually actualized that, but who knows, right? So anyway, none of this would have happened, and none of this would have been possible if we didn't have the team that we had. So over the years, we have evolved, we have grown, and we had many different individuals who were part of this SC3D journey. Not everybody is on these photographs, unfortunately, but I just wanted to acknowledge, you know, the contribution and the people who have been part of the journey back in, you know, when we all started, 2015. Kevin was the first hire that we had, and he's right here at the back of the background in the picture. And then we had Andy, who joined us as an intern, who helped up with a lot of the experiments and the protocols. And then Theron, who also helped us as a mechanical engineer in developing and improving the hardware that we had. So thank you for the team. And then 2017, we had a different crew. We had a team of 10 people, right? We had full-time employees, and we also had interns and so forth who were part of this journey. And to me, it was incredible. It was incredible to see the enthusiasm. It was incredible to see the passion and dedication that people had to be part of this journey. So I felt really privileged, and I felt really honored to be running this company and having this opportunity to run the company. So anyway, just to kind of recap kind of the milestones that we've had and highlight, you know, what are some of the key milestones that we've had as a company. SC3D was technically founded in the early 2014, where I first registered the company, but frankly, had no idea what I was about to start or even getting myself into. But officially, as of January 2015, we got the SBIR Phase 1 grant. I was very excited. I think that was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that I couldn't say no to. So I just went ahead and jumped onto it without thinking of anything else. I really didn't. And but you know, having said that, I had no regrets. I think that was the right decision. I think that was the right timing, and I think that was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me. So 3 months or 6 months later, we you know, built that Rebel bioprinter, which you see it earlier, and we started that series of bioprinting workshop. At the same time, we started thinking about patents, right? What could we file? And we started filing those patents alongside with Santa Clara University. A year later, January 2016, we officially launched our product. And immediately after that, we launched that pilot program, and we had that first 10 to 20 schools who were highly enthusiastic and engaged about the program that we had to offer. And I was surprised, I was amazed. And I think that was a critical step, a critical moment, that we had teachers who were dedicated in embracing this technology and integrating that into part of the curriculum. So the pilot program was critical. It was part of our use case study. And it was important for us to use that program or leverage the program to really understand what were the challenges, what were the issues, what were the concerns, right? So throughout that time, there were multiple hardware improvements, maybe some software, but mostly hardware and use case improvements. And then at the same time, Prashant and I were also heavily pursuing the NSF phase 2 grant and getting additional funding to support and continue this amazing work that we were doing. And we were fortunate enough to receive that grant, right? So in September 2016, we got great news from the National Science Foundation that we got the phase 2 SBIR grant. So that was amazing for us. And with the phase 2 grant, which was $725,000 essentially, that really enabled us to build that second prototype and really sort of iterate and understand our manufacturing challenges and what we really need to do to get to the market, right? So that was the phase 2 grant. We then launched a full integrated program, and the goal was to get 75 to 100 schools to be part of that program, not only as a use case, but really to just accelerate that market integration or intake, right? And then within that time, we also started developing a better version of Rebel, which is Rebel version 2 or 2.0, if you will. That was a much more solid, robust, mechanically resilient bioprinter that we were able to utilize for classroom, and also for, you know, that could withstand all the shipping constraints and whatnot. So we really built a hardware that was reliable and robust, right? And then we also started developing this idea of a Rebel Mini. That was something that I was personally very excited about, because I thought our Rebel bioprinter, the first one, was clunky. It was heavy. It was difficult to maneuver around, especially when I went to conferences. I thought it was just a pain, to be honest, to carry that around. So I told my team and said, look, we need to design something that I could literally put into my purse. That was how I presented it to them, right? I could just literally throw that into my purse and would be easy to use and just plug and play, and we could use as a demo, or even for students and teachers to use as a workshop. And that was how the Rebel Mini came about. And, you know, personally, I was very excited that we came out with Rebel Mini. So anyway, with that funding, we were able to obtain a lot of support, and we also continue a lot of collaborations, whether it's with universities or you know, industry partnering collaborations. And this is just some of the pictures that I can show to illustrate some of the work that we were doing, you know, in the next three years, right? So we had a lot of interns who were essential or critical to part of the growth of SD3D. We had a lot of university collaborations that was also, I think, critical and essential a part of SD3D. We have improved in the technology in terms of the hardware, software, biomaterials, and capabilities of what a desktop extrusion-based bioprinter could do. So this is just an example of what they could do, and printing very intricate, you know, structures and intricacies such as a year model. So that was really exciting for us. Okay, so last but not least, I think I want to kind of close this conference to share with you what were some of the lessons learned for us. And, you know, definitely for the most part, I think there were many things that we did right? And one of the things that I think we did right was applying for those government grants. I think that was a huge initial push for establishing reputation and credibility of who we are and where we stand as a company. So I would highly encourage all of you out there who are considering to start your own company to look out for those government government grants, you know, whatever you can get a hold of, because that funding that you can get, that non-dilutive funding that you can get, is going to be not only helping you to put a stamp into your technology, but also make you as a company more attractive to those angel and early investors, right? Because you've had that opportunity to kind of develop your prototype, develop a proof of concept before you go out there and pursue for additional funding. So definitely leverage and utilize whatever free government grants that you can get hold of to prove your technology and to build your credibility. Okay. Second lesson learned that for me is really critical in making any startup or company successful is the use cases, right? As I mentioned, we did whatever we could at SC3D to build those use cases, right? We focus on the target audience, but there were also times where I personally had sidetracked, right? And that was probably my regret, right? I think we should have, well, maybe yes or no, but I think that was those were all lessons learned, right? So so really, learn about the use cases and define, who are the target audience and who you really wanted to reach out to. Test as many as you can, and really then start honing into the areas that you really feel that you can make a big improvement on. All right. So those are the use cases. And then third thing is building the right team and building the right business model. I think that is absolutely critical in the success of your future business and future company. So, making sure that you pick the right people on your team to build the company that you envision, but also really very importantly is building that business model, right? The market fit is absolutely critical, right? Without the market fit, if you're not addressing a pain point that the market has right now, then it's not going to be able to scale or gain any traction at all. So I think you need to be very realistic about what that is and being able to address it very, very concretely. And so, sometimes it's hard, but if you realize, and in my case, I think the traction wasn't quite there, even though there isn't, we've had a lot of teachers who were enthusiastic about what we were offering and the potential of it, but on the aggregate, I think the market potential was not quite there yet, and maybe we were too early for this market, and that was why we decided to close the company. Last but not least, my advice to all of you out there is to be very, very selective, right? With whether it's your advisors, your investors, and especially, your time. I think time is money in your case. So, definitely be very selective and stringent about where you're spending your time and how every opportunity is going to build that new business for you. So make sure that you are very selective about that. Okay. So last but not least, before, it was definitely a very bittersweet moment for me to decide that we were going to close the company and say, yeah, I'm unfortunately, we're not going to continue what we were, pursuing about. But, before we close this business, I also thought about, sort of what were the ways we could try to keep it alive. And one of the things that I decided to do was to create these resources and make it available in online platforms that would be available to anyone who is interested in bioprinting. So we created these resources, bioprinting resources in Udemy, and bioprinting for beginners was really part of one of the educational tools or introductory curriculum that Prashant, Dr. Asuri, and I had created. And then I also found a really brilliant biomaterial scientist at the time, Dr. Vidya Chamandeswari, who worked with me to create this second course called Biomaterials for Bioprinting. So for those of you who are still new to this field and would like to learn more about bioprinting, I absolutely welcome you to participate in these courses, online courses, and take the time to learn about bioprinting technology. So that was kind of my way of keeping things alive and keeping the resources available to people that is interested in bioprinting. Last but not least, none of this would have been possible without the support of the teachers, the students, and of course, the team that were part of SC3D. So I definitely wanted to thank everyone who were part of this journey. But especially, I wanted to take a moment to thank these people here who were really critical to the beginning part of SC3D, Dr. Katie Crossmeyer, who, sort of made the introduction to the bioprinting, the biotechnology community, and gave us sort of the foot in the door to all the teachers, the biotech teachers who were so passionate about embracing new technology. And I really do appreciate her collaboration, her enthusiasm, her support in the vision that we had. So thank you, Katie. Professor Christopher Kitts, who you've seen in one of the photos, he was one of the founder of the Adventure Lab and really provided the space that we were able to use for 9 months or more to really start building SC3D. Good friend of mine, Roni Hosada, who were part of the finance advisors or consultants that we had in the early days of SC3D. And also Elizabeth Sweeney, who was also a very brilliant consultant and coordinator in Santa Clara University, who were part of our marketing strategist. And then Solomon Wong, who was one of our early investors, but also really just a champion of SC3D, right? Who was part of who we are from the very beginning. And he just, gave us whatever support we needed to help this company be successful. So thank you, Solomon. Last but not least, we also had Dr. Sanjay Abamar, who is a champion of the biofabrication education program at Rutgers University. So we did, a lot of exciting programs with her at Rutgers University, and thank you for the wonderful collaboration we've had together in the 2-3 years that we were at SC3D. Partners and industry partners that we have collaborated with during this time was, of course, the National Science Foundation, who provided us with the NSF grant funding, Santa Clara University's Adventure Lab, Biocurious, where we were, a really attendant and really had a lot of interesting collaborations with as well at Biocurious. And last but not least, Founder Space Accelerator program that we were part of, Prashant and I were part of, and we really learned a lot through that experience as well. So thank you everyone for taking this time to learn about us. Last but not least, for me, really wanted to spend this, take a moment to just thank my co-founder, Dr. Prashant Suri, who was part of this journey with me at SC3D. And together, I think we built something really quite amazing and incredible. And, it's a shame that we had to put an end to it. But at the end of the day, I was still very happy that we were part of it. And I have no regrets of starting this company and being part of it. So thank you, everyone. And I welcome any questions that you may have. Thank you.